Thank you, Adam. That was very generous and very kind of you. It means a lot. It means a lot for me to be here, as you know. And Josh, where are you? Oh, there you are. That was great. And as has happened the last two meetings, that was wonderful. You said everything I was going to say. Good night, everybody. Thank you for coming. You've been a wonderful audience. That was great. That was great. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to meet Sir Roger. I think we would have enjoyed each other's company. George Bernard Shaw's book, you know George Bernard Shaw, the great Irish British playwright. I'm a Murphy. Wrote some of the real magnificent plays of English language or any language. And he wrote a book called The Perfect Wagnerite. And it's fascinating to read, but I don't know that I buy all of his ideas, too. The business about like a communist or socialist revolutionary state, that can be seen, or struggle, that can be seen in the first opera we talked about, From der Ring des Nibelungen, Das Rheingold. But Shaw is kind of funny. He'll then say, the moment that Siegfried and Brunhilde kiss, that's near the end of tonight, the music drama is over, and now it's just opera. Wagner felt he was writing music drama. Opera did not cover what he wanted to do because he wrote the libretto, the first major composer to write the words, the libretto, and the music. But I don't know if I agree with George Bernard Shaw that much. He's not here, is he? But I really loved what you had to say, and I'm thrilled that you're reading more about this. And it means a lot for my wife, Joanne, and me to be here and to be welcomed so wonderfully by everybody at Life Mission. You've made a big difference in my life in these years that I've known you and the congregation. It means a lot. Where's Rose? All right. I don't want you and Joanne sitting together, so you just stay there. Rose lives across the street from us, and I never know what's going to happen when these two get together. And Eileen, you're a saint. Your whole life with it. That's Rose's sister, Eileen. I'm really delighted to see so many people here. And I want to mention that Dan Bachalz, who's whispering right now to his wife, Barbara, principal is going to see you soon. Recently, Dan was elected as chairperson of the Hamilton Environmental Commission. I'm thrilled to have you here. Where have we gone? Well, we're going to take a look at Siegfried. Am I on this mic or this? A or B? Oh, thanks. Stereo. Well, that's still on. Can you hear me through the mic? All right. Yeah, Thank you. So we're going to just a quick repeat of some things we've done the first time, each time we've met. I knew of a teacher once that was called into the principal's office because she repeated some things that were done in a previous lesson. She was just reinforcing that. So I hope you don't suspend me here. But this is Richard Wagner in about 1861, the composer of many operas. We'll look at their names in a moment. But this picture has an interesting story about it. It was lost until the year 2012, when it resurfaced on an auction. It was owned by an American, and he sold it, an American, to the director of the Wagner Museum in Bayreuth for, I think it was €900. I mean, I would have bought it, too, for that and then resold it. But that picture was lost from the 1860s until 2012. So isn't that a treat? We get to see the full man. I think he was 5'3" or something like that, but there he is. And the same guy we saw at the beginning. We know that in terms of his personality, there are things that we find intolerable. His anti-Semitism, there's no excuse, it's intolerable. And as I said before, when I discovered that about him, when I was in my late teens, I was really very disappointed. But I still love the music, and that's why we're here tonight. That being said, I can also understand why the state of Israel may not want to have his music played, because Hitler admired him so much and had not only Wagner's music playing at times at certain rallies and events, but imitation Wagner music, too, was created from other composers during the Third Reich. Someone say, well, he only wrote about it. That's not so bad. Well, it's like the beginning of an avalanche. A little pebble is falling. Oh, that won't hurt anything. Well, eventually it becomes a huge thing, and that became the Holocaust. With enough people believing the way Wagner did. It's just intolerable. But there is the music. About his life, there's much to be said. And so for the next 13 hours, I'll be talking to you. I'll be reading out loud to you. This is a 4-volume set by Ernst Newman, one of the finest writers who ever walked this planet. And it took me about a decade to read this. I had work to do and other things going on. But it's a 2,700-page biography of one human being. Very thorough. And I know you're creating a library here. I'd like to present this to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Now, you put that away. We're going to pass it around. Everybody can read. We're going to, let's take a look if we can. What do we have next? Along with other things that are unique to Wagner is Bayreuth. Bayreuth is a small town in Germany about 60 miles northeast of Munich. And Bayreuth also holds this festival house called Bayreuth that Wagner designed, raised the money to build, and it was opened in 1876. And to this day, people around the world seek tickets to that, to the tune of 50,000 people a year try to get tickets to see Wagner operas in Bayreuth. And he not only did he create this building, his own design, he also added something else to our opera viewing. Here's the inside. And down in the front, there's really not a place for the orchestra. Many operas, which are plays put to music with that full-voiced sound, they would often be on the ground level at the orchestra, that's why it's called orchestra level, or even on the stage as the opera was going on. And the conductor would be conducting sometimes from the stage or from below and would block some of the scenes or characters. So here's what he did. He created the sunken orchestra pit, which is used in theaters around the world for opera to this day. So the sound bounces off from inside. We saw this before, but some friends are here for the first time. Okay. So that's Bayreuth. Now, here are some of Wagner's major operas. I spent $20,000 getting my stomach fixed. Now my mouth isn't working. As I mentioned before, the first two are rarely performed except as curiosity pieces. And then Rienzi, when that was first performed, it started at 6:30 at night and ended at 11:30. I can't remember where. Don't ask me. I forgot. But it's a very long opera based on a novel by Bulwer Lytton. And Wagner was so shy about how it would be received that a member of the cast had to push him out from the curtains on stage to take the applause. And they first saw his long nose. That's all they saw. And then they kept pushing him out, and then he was there. He was only in his 20s. And interestingly enough, the composer of operas that are rarely performed now, Meyerbeer, helped get that performed, get this produced. Wagner was near suicide at this point in his life, by the way, because nothing was working out. And he had written some really obsequious, sycophantic letters to Meyerbeer. And Wagner will come along later and write Judaism music and criticize Jewish people and artists and musicians. Meyerbeer was Jewish. There was just something wrong. And then we go to the Flying Dutchman, Tannhäuser with lovely music in it. That's where I started for my first time listening to a whole Wagner opera was Tannhäuser with the libretto and following the English, and you could tell where the German was, and just hear by the sound where they were in the performance on an old LP. They're these big round things, discs. And then Lohengrin, which has the famous "Here Comes the Bride" da, 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 in it. That's from him. But now we go to something more germane to where we are. Der Ring des Nibelungen. Look at the years of composition, 1848 to 1874, with a break of 12 years, we'll talk about, when he wrote these two operas following Die Götterdämmerung. I guess I made a mistake. That wouldn't be Die Götterdämmerung, just Götterdämmerung. Mea culpa. My mistake. Seems like it should be. But Die Meistersinger von Nuremberg is a comic opera. That means it ends happy. That doesn't mean that you're on the floor laughing. It just means that it ends happily. And Wagner wrote that because critics were saying, you can't compose anything humorous or light, can you? All right, so he wrote Die Meistersinger. Great moments in that, but some real slow moments. And then a work that I don't even know how to describe, the opera Tristan und Isolde, an incredible love story that is so far beyond words. Wagner realized that when the words fail, that's where my music has to make everything happen. And it does in Tristan. If time permits, we're going to hear a little bit from that midway through here tonight. And then, so then he returned to the Ring, returned after Tristan and Die Meistersinger to create Act 3 of Siegfried, and then finish in 1874 with this magnum opus, Götterdämmerung. And then he turned to Parsifal, an opera that may have in its moments tedium that is beyond our capacity to endure. However, Wagner said he never wanted Parsifal to be performed outside of Bayreuth because he calls it a sacred music festival opera. It's the story, we're looking at a story of redemption. Again, Wagner's big on that. But this redemption, this time, uses the Eucharist as a symbol of redeeming. Music and parts that are inexpressibly sublime. And in 1906, I think, the Metropolitan Opera in New York wanted to perform Parsifal, and somehow they got the manuscript of the opera, many copies. And the widow Wagner, Cosima Wagner, sued them to stop, but a judge in New York City said, no, such a beautiful opera must be heard by the world. And it's performed all over the world to this day. It's a very special night, though, listening to Parsifal. It's an intimate kind of opera in a different way. And when he finished Parsifal, King Ludwig II, who had been sponsoring him from 1860 on, said, well, now can we hear Die Sieger, the victors, the opera he wanted to write about the Buddha. And Wagner just wrote back to King Ludwig II, nothing more may be expected from me, and passed away in February 13th, 1883. So, back to the stage. We're in a theater. We're here for an opera. A work set on stage, or now in recordings, or on YouTube, or discs, or streamed, where we're watching a drama unfold and hearing music that will express what the words cannot express. You might say that about many operas, frankly. And we're zeroing in now on Siegfried. Wagner did not create this story. It's in the Poetic and the Prose Edda. He even uses part of the dragon-killing scene of Siegfried trying to go out through life to learn about fear, because he doesn't know what fear is. He borrowed that from the Brothers Grimm. There's a Grimm story with a character trying to learn fear. Do you know what it is, Butch? Do you know the story? No, I can't remember it. So not all this is original. And he also borrowed from the Song of the Volsung. Did I bring that book? A little thin volume. I have to say thank you, by the way, to Matt Krell. He's my boss, a director and a producer. And, it's over at the display case. That's okay. Wagner was, as Josh mentioned, fascinated by Nordic, Scandinavian, Germanic, and Icelandic myths. Thank you very much. Matt Krell, who makes all of this happen. This is not the original that he used, but Wagner read different translations of the Icelandic and Nordic and Scandinavian myths to create the Ring Cycle. This is the Song of the Volsungs. Quick read, fascinating. Bayreuth, the Metropolitan Opera in New York, are not the only places, or even Philadelphia, where opera is performed. In a moment, we're going to go to Valencia, Spain, where Daniel Barenboim will be conducting the opening of Siegfried. And then I'll ask somebody to tell us the story of Siegfried. Where is she? She's there. In a moment. Act 1. Who's doing Act 2? Oh, okay. Who's doing Act 3? Well, I guess I am. Oh, are you? Good, Tim. Okay, good. Valencia, Spain has a theater art center that must be unrivaled to any place else. Now, Robert and Suzanne, you've been to Spain. Do you know Valencia?
We've been there, but we've never been to the opera there.
All right.
I'm writing it down so I make sure I do it.
Okay, good. And then you'll come back and tell us about it and bring slides. Well, it's an incredible performing arts center, not unlike, I suppose, Lincoln Center in New York, where you have an opera house, you have an orchestra hall, you have a movie hall, you have live theater, dramatic theater, you have lecture halls, all in the same area. Friends of mine in California just came back from Spain, and they said it's breathtakingly beautiful. We're going to begin Siegfried in a moment with a video of the Valencia Opera House. It's spectacular. I hope you'll agree. Very modern. And we're going to be hearing at the same time the prelude to the third act of Siegfried until we go inside the theater and Daniel Barenboim takes the stage to open up Siegfried. Valencia. It's not the Hamilton High School auditorium. This is the opening of Wagner's Siegfried. I meant Zubin Mehta. I don't know why I said Daniel Barenboim. Zubin Mehta, Indian American. See, they're in a hole.
alle Plage, Mühe ohne Zweck. Das beste Schwert, das je geschweißt, in der Riesenfäusten hielt es fest. Doch ihm ist geschmiedet, der schmälige Knabe, ein Klingt und schmeißt es ins Halb, als ihm die Kinder geschmeide. Es gibt ein Schwert, das nicht zerschwänge. Notungstrümmer zertrotzt mir nicht. Könnt ich die starken Stücken schmeißen, die meine Kunst nicht zu gitten weiß. Könnt ich's den kühnen Schmieden meiner Schmach, erlangt ich da Lohn.
What's interesting there is that you don't have the real prelude overture that we're used to with Wagner. He just kind of slips us into this, repeating some of the leitmotifs that we've heard earlier in Die Valkyrie and Das Rheingold. You may have even heard a hint of the giants from Das Rheingold, one of whom is now a dragon. You know how that goes. And we also see a strange set, like a lot of great drama. George Bernard Shaw included, and Billy Shakespeare, who Wagner thought he was equal to. You can take the story and put it in any time period. Maybe you've seen the Leonardo DiCaprio version of Romeo and Juliet. It's set in the 1990s, even though we're looking back centuries from when the story supposedly happens and centuries from when Shakespeare wrote it. Well, the same thing can happen here, and frequently directors will, and set designers and writers, producers, will change the setting from the Volsungs, the Vikings kind of setting that Wagner had in mind, and create it in a setting that's now. Or, in many cases, the Industrial Revolution because of Wagner's political interests. That's the opening of Siegfried. You may remember in Das Rheingold, in Die Valkyrie, the second opera, Sieglinde and Siegmund are in trouble. They have, Sieglinde is pregnant, and a lot goes on. The sword of Siegmund, which is called Nothung, was broken up. That's what this fella, Mime, Alberic's brother, is trying to reassemble. And Siegmund was just dropped, was killed, and Sieglinde was hiding away, pregnant, and then she gave birth to Siegfried, who we see coming, and Mime has raised him, but he has ulterior motives. What's Act 1 all about? You want to use that mic? I forgot.
Right, so Mime is at his anvil for the beginning of the act, and he's trying to, he's just trying to make a sword, all right, and he's working at it. And while he's working at the sword, you find out there's the Nothung, which is the sword that's been broken, and he's tried over and over again to fix the sword, and he's been unsuccessful. And his ulterior motive is he's raising Siegfried in order that he might be able to slay Fafnir, who is a giant that is the dragon right now. And of course, the dragon's guarding the gold, as dragons normally do. And so that's kind of his big plan for Siegfried. He's going to get Siegfried to kill the dragon so then he can have the gold. Well, as he's hammering away at this sword, Siegfried bursts in with a bear in tow and nearly scares Mime senseless. And why Siegfried does this? Well, he wants Mime to just give him the sword that he's working on. That's how he's going to ask him. It's just by dragging a bear into the cave and scaring him. So Mime gives in, and bear goes away. And Siegfried just right then there declares how much he hates Mima, can't stand the sight of him. And Mima just pleads with him. He's like, I've taken care of you since you were an infant, and I've loved you, and I've just cherished you. And Siegfried's just like, I can't stand your face. Right. And and Mima's like offering him stew and just trying to calm him down. And while Siegfried's eating, he decides to ask Mima, and he's like, look, I'm not stupid. I've seen, like, the deer and the birds, they all have partners and they mate and have babies, so obviously I had a mom and dad, so where's my mom and dad? And Mima goes, well, you're not the beasts of the woods. You're your own thing. I'm your dad. And Siegfried, of course, doesn't buy it. So Mima eventually confesses the truth after some coaxing, and as proof that he's not lying this time, he shows Siegfried Wotan. And he's told Siegfried, I've tried to bend the sword. I haven't really been successful. Well, Siegfried demands right then and there, I want you to mend it again. Just go ahead and do it. And he stormed out to go do something. Wotan comes in. He's been wandering the earth. And he comes into the cave. And Mima, I think, is just kind of really upset at Siegfried. And he basically says to Wotan, you're not welcome here. And Wotan's like, well, but I travel the world and I give my wisdom to anyone I stay with, so don't you want me? And Mima goes, now I have enough wisdom, goodbye. So then there's kind of a question and answer showdown between the two. So is it Mima that demands the questions first? I forgot.
I think so.
So Mima basically...
Wotan offers him, you can ask me 3 questions.
Mima answers 3 questions. Then Wotan kind of turns the tables and demands that Mima answer some of his questions. And through those questions, Wotan is basically able to get Mima to confess that he has stolen that sword. And so he has stolen the sword, and Mima learns from Wotan that only someone who has known no fear can mend the sword. And so that's when Mima realizes, Siegfried's probably going to have to be the one with the sword. Siegfried comes back later in the play, and Mima kind of tells him the truth about, well, the sword can't be fixed only by someone who has known no fear. And Siegfried's like, what is fear? I have never felt this fear. And so Mima kind of describes it, and he's like, well, I haven't felt it, so I'm just going to do it myself. So he starts fixing up the sword, and while he's fixing up the sword, it dawns on Mima that, oh no, Siegfried's gonna fix the sword, he'll have the sword, he's gonna kill Fafnir, and since he hates me, he's probably gonna kill me too afterward. And that, kind of ruins the plan, because he would really like to have that goal. So Mima decides, well, I'm gonna follow Siegfried along when he goes to kill the dragon, and after, of course, a great battle, you're probably pretty thirsty, so I'm gonna mix up a potion for Siegfried to have to refresh himself, and that will put him to sleep. And then I will kill Siegfried, and then I will have the gold. So as he contrives his plan, he's all kind of chuckling evilly and gathering up herbs and a pot to make his evil potion. And right then and there, Siegmund, he finishes mending the sword, he raises it up and splits the anvil in 2. And that's the end of Act 1.
Bravo. Let's watch Siegfried making the sword, repairing the sword Wotan. You remember that sound from the Nibelungens underground in Das Rheingold. The people working mining gold and hammering away. The same rhythm. I really don't know why the ladder is there.
Zu dem Horten hin drängt sich Gott und Welt. Auf einem Blicken neigt sich die Welt. Von einem Zorn zittert sie hin. Nein, feindliches Schwert, jetzt hast es doch wieder im Feld. Dann war die fühlt sich nie mit dem Schwert. Hast du ein Zwei, ich zwang dich zu ganz, kein Schlag soll nur nicht mehr zerschlagen. Die scharfen andere, den tiefen Schatten, den Sternen des Vaters zersprang der Stahl. Der lebende Sohn schob auf ihn ein, und nach ihm sein heller Schein, eine Schilfe Stein. Liebe Dank, liebes König, Herz der Alben, Heiler des Reichs. Feindliches Schwert, zum Leben hängt ich dich wieder. Tot lagst du im Glück und Mord, jetzt leuchtest du trotzig und hell. Heil, Liebe, wie glücklich ihr Gott! Wer hätte wohl das gedacht? Auf, Liebe, du Schmied! So schneidet Siegfried Schwert.
Wow. What a tenor voice. Now, so Siegfried is pleasingly plump that he has the sword together, and Mime is real excited because now I have this potion that will poison him after he kills the dragon so I can get the gold, because the dragon, Fafnir, is guarding the gold. We're going to turn to, that's the end of Act 1. And Act 2 is a bit different too, and I wonder who is going to tell us about Act 2? Brett? Are you in? Yes. Yeah, okay, come on. You want to come up? Sure. All right, I thought you were being shy. Or did I mess up?
Okay, Act 2. Main players in Act 2 are Albrecht, Dean, Siegfried, Woodland Birds, and Wanderer, who is also Wotan. Now, it picks up exactly where it left off here. Basically, Dean, Albrecht, leading outside the cage. In the meantime, Mime and Siegfried were on their way to see the dragon. So he has never lost hope to getting the ring back. Albrecht is always somehow in his heart believed he can get the ring back somehow. So he's going to watch all this take place. He's waiting outside the cave. The Wanderer comes through. He sees this lightning, and the moonlight shines, and it's Wotan. He's upset. So they're arguing about this. If you come now to do this, you can't take that treasure back, because if you do, it says on your staff that your staff will explode, and you'll lose your staff. And I get the ring, and I'm going to go destroy Valhalla. So they get into this argument back and forth. Finally, Wotan goes, well, I'm just here as an observer. I'm not going to actually take part in this. I'm just going to see. And the one who truly is worthy of the treasure will take the treasure. So they depart. Wotan leaves. No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember stuff. There's a lot of detail in this act. Basically, Wotan goes, well, let's ask the dragon. Maybe he'll just give you the ring. Maybe let's just see. Let's go wake him up. Let's wake him up now. Hey, there's someone here who is going to warn you of impending doom. And Albrecht goes, yes, there's someone coming, a champion, to take away your ring. All he wants is a ring. You can have all the rest. And the dragon wakes up and goes, no, all is mine, and I will give none. And then Wotan goes, whoop, that didn't work. Okay. And so Albrecht goes kind of away, and then meanwhile, Sigmund and Mime come on the scene. All right, as you've seen before, Sigmund and Mime, they do not like each other. ulterior motives everywhere. So, and Siegfried goes, "Are you going to teach me fear? Are you the one who's going to teach me? If not, we go away. I'm going to be on my own," basically. And so they go back and forth. Says, "No, this is where the dragons came. You will learn fear from this guy." He goes, "Well, does he have a fearful heart?" "No, it's wretched." "Well, then I will stick my sword through his heart." And I will, he just knows no fear. So, as they're going back, they're basically says, "All right."
Can we turn those chandelier lights off? Or will that shut everything else off? Is that okay? Is that all right? It's too bright. What happened?
It was like they just had a discussion. Right after Siegfried tells him to go wait. Okay, I remember now. So he goes. He tells Meme to wait.
Yeah.
He waits. The forest clears. Everything's nice and wonderful now because his nemesis is gone. And he hears these sounds of the birds singing, and he decides he's now musing on his mother. Why did she die when I was born? The birds are singing. The birds are trying to tell me something. He's wondering what this sound is. So he decides to make a flute. He makes a flute, try to imitate the sound of the birds. And he can't do that, so he throws the thing down. Throws the flute down, and he has a silver horn with him. Says, "Well, I'm going to play my horn, because in that maybe we can imitate the sounds, and then we'll call my lusty companion. My friend will come, and we will, this summons my companion." So he's playing the horn, the silver horn, and the dragon looks out. He comes out of the cave. Basically, "Who is this?" And then Siegfried laughs. "This is my companion. My companion who the horn is summoned. This dragon." And so then this is the big scene. They have the altercation. This fight. The dragon spits poison through his nose, tries to get him with the tail, drops out of the way, damages his tail. He screams, and the dragon tries to go on him, and he does that. He takes the sword and sticks it through his heart. And as the dragon's falling down, he looks at him, but not with horror, almost like, "Who are you? Who is this?" And they have an actual discussion. As he's dying, and he says, "No, who sent you on this murderous thing?" He says, "I know it was this person. It was Fafnir. So let me tell you who this is." The dragon basically says, "That's who he is, and beware the person who brought you here on this murderous thing.
Right.
He wants to kill you."
Yeah.
All right. And as he pulled the sword out of the dragon, blood comes on him, and he's reactionary. He sticks it to his mouth, like that. And all of a sudden, he can understand what the birds are saying. He can understand things in his mind. And so the birds are singing, "Oh, you have won the treasure. Go take the tarn helm. But that'll make you all wisdom, and go get the ring, and I'll make you lord of all the earth." So he's like, "Wow, I can understand these birds." So he's actually sorrowful that the dragon's dead. It's an interesting scene because they both look at each other almost in admiration, in a sense. So then he goes off into the cave, and then meanwhile, Albrecht and Meme come back out, and they see each other. "Oh no, you come for the treasure, I've come for the treasure," and they're bickering back and forth. And finally, Meme goes, "All right, well, I'll take the tarn helm, you take the ring." And Albrecht's like, "No, nothing. You don't even a nail's head. I'm not even taking a nail's head." So then, Albrecht they both see Siegfried coming back out of the cave, wearing the tarn helm and the ring. And Albrecht, "Oh, look, maybe the Wanderer told him what the magical powers are of the ring." He didn't, because he didn't know. He had no knowledge of what those things did. And then maybe he goes, "Well, I'll sick him on you, Albrecht, and we'll just take care of this, and I'll get my stuff back with you. Well, let's see what happens." So Albrecht goes away. Meme and Siegfried, as they're walking together, Meme's like, really, "Oh, he won the victory," he's just like sniveling, and meanwhile he knows he hates them, And as they're talking, now that he understands what he's actually thinking, "Oh, you want to kill me? What? I never said that." He says, "You want to poison me too with that drink? What? I never said that." And he killed him. So he is dead. And then Siegfried goes, "All right, well, you go into the treasure that you wanted, put him in the cave, takes a dragon, goes, here's your companion," and put him in the cave. And then he sits down in the lime tree. And as the birds are singing to him, he sees the birds singing, sees the communal aspect of the birds, and longs for that companion. And as he's singing, the birds are saying, "You have won, and not only that, I'm looking for that companion. Where is my companion?" And the birds say, "Not only do you have a companion, but you have a bride. And this person is sitting in a ring of fire on the mountain." And they go, Well, where is that? How can I be the one to go do that? He goes, only the one who knows no fear can break through the fire. Well, that's me. You know, he says, "Show me where it is," basically. And then the next scene.
Bravo. Bravo. I would think, there's basically 4 levels of meaning in great literature, or drama, and art. Symbolic, literal, anagogical, and I forgot the other one, but I'm thinking of how we might interpret that Siegfried's going for his bride through that ring of fire. They might represent in-laws. I'm thinking. We've had 2 great summaries. What we'd like to share with you now is something a little bit different. Some of Wagner's music from the operas are often excerpted and just part of an orchestral performance of, maybe some music by Beethoven or Mrs. Amy Beach from New England or Wagner. So there'd be several things performed. You probably would guess there are excerpts. I was wondering what's happening. I forgot. There are excerpts from that's Die Valkyrie, the Ride of the Valkyries. That's performed a lot. Sometimes just the prelude to Parsifal is performed at a symphonic concert. The Philadelphia Orchestra under Eugene Ormandy many years ago made one of the thousands of recordings of what's called Forest Murmurs, where Siegfried is sitting under. He's just sitting, wondering what to do about his life. He's thinking, as Brett said, well, who am I? Where did I come from? Where are all these? I don't know anything about me. And he hears the forest birds. And then he thinks, well, I'll play my wooden flute. I'll make a flute no good. And he has this horn, like all Vikings, and he starts playing the horn real loud and awakens the dragon. Well, that piece is called Forest Murmurs. And I want you to drift away with me from the actual plot, maybe, where Siegfried is sitting among some trees, thinking about his life, and just watch what whoever the videographer was of this piece that the Philadelphia Orchestra is playing, called Forest Murmurs. This is near the end of Act 2. I think you'll enjoy this. It's for you. Just take it in, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Wagner is not always loud and bombastic. The forest bird. had a nice Friday evening moment. I just wanted to mention that somebody came here from far away to be here tonight. Venice came here from Antarctica. That's the longest trip that I'm aware of, somebody coming to hear me talk. So that's how we actually, what you heard here was Forest Murmurs, a combination of the passage where Siegfried does not understand what the bird is singing and where he now understands the bird singing. So the orchestrator put the two together. So what I want to share with you now is Siegfried killing the dragon. Now, the bass or bass baritone singing the dragon's part is usually backstage or understage somewhere with a huge cone-like megaphone and going into a microphone. So we don't see him. And in some production, there's a mechanical dragon. Some productions, there's a mechanical dragon with people inside it. Some productions have just like an amoeba-like shape moving to be the dragon. Difficult to stage. I don't know what Wagner was thinking. But so here is, I think we're down to 13? Yep. Okay. The battle between the fearless Siegfried and Fafnir, who's now a dragon, guarding the ring and all the gold and a Tarnhelm. That's Siegfried playing his horn. That would wake anybody, especially a dragon. So, Fafner is dead. You may recall some of the giant music that are boom, 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 boom from Das Rheingold showing up because Fafner was one of those giants. Now he's a dragon. Well, now he's nothing. But that's how Wagner used these leitmotifs as recurring themes. Wagner never named them. People since his time have named which one means what. How many did Roger find?
186.
186. I don't know if I could find all of them, but that's pretty amazing. Now, Wagner. Siegfried will now sit down. I don't know why the book said a lane tree. And Wagner wrote, he sits under a linden tree and hears the forest bird again, but now because he's tasted the dragon's blood, he understands what the forest bird is telling him. And the forest bird tells him, there's a beautiful girl surrounded by fire, meet her, she's your bride. He still doesn't know fear, though, right? He's still interested in learning what fear is. We're going to take a look at about a minute excerpt of the late Dame Joan Sutherland performing the Forest Murmurs bird song. It's the same melody we just heard in that beautiful video, art inspiring art. But now they're intelligible words to Siegfried because he tasted the dragon's blood. And since then, he's also killed the man who raised him, Mime. And he could read Mime's thoughts. Quite amazing. She's gone, but her voice is considered the best version of the forest bird we have. Or ever had. Well, Siegfried says, good, I'll go find her. End of Act 2. Who's telling us the story of Act 3? Well, then. Matt, come on up.
Tim.
Tim. I was just talking to Matt. That's right.
We're interchangeable.
I understand. It's all family.
So in Act 3, we see Wotan waking Erda up because he is very concerned that Siegfried does not seem to be able to be stopped and that he is inexorably going on his path to finding Brunhilde. And he discusses this with Erda, and Erda doesn't give him any help, really, and falls back to sleep after he woke him up. And then Wotan is disguised as the Wanderer, and finally meets up with Siegfried in the forest, and kind of tries to bar his way, and he's just kind of talking to him and asking him where he's going and different things. And as he ascertains that he's going to the place on the mountain with the fire and the flames all around, Wotan says, "I'm not going to let you go. I can't let you go through." And Siegfried is, because he's dressed as an old wanderer, Siegfried is kind of belligerent and says that he's an old man and he passed him just fine. And then the wanderer tries to block his path, and then Siegfried pulls out his sword and sunders the wanderer's staff in two, and after recognizing him to be Wotan, and basically defeats him. And then Wotan says, "I can't stop you. Go ahead and go on." And then Siegfried continues. He was following the bird, and he keeps going up to the mountain with the flames. And you would think that the fiery wall would be difficult, to get through, but it turns out to be super easy, barely an inconvenience. Or Siegfried, and he just jumps right through, and then he he knows that he's looking for a woman up there, but he sees what looks like a man in a helmet and armor, and he's surprised, and then he takes off the armor and the helmet, and Brunhilde's flowing garments and hair are there before him, and he's amazed. And then he feels something that he doesn't understand, which is love. And he wonders, is it like fear? But he sees that she's still asleep, and he doesn't know what to do. And he tries to call her, and she won't get up. And then he does what every man considers whenever they see a sleeping woman, which is that you're supposed to kiss them. And then she wakes, and she. I didn't totally understand if I got this right, but it sounds like she's sad that she is no longer a god.
Yeah. Wotan took that away from her in Die Valkyrie.
And she sees her weapons and her armor lying there, and so she regrets her past.
Mm-hmm. And who doesn't, you know?
Yeah. Especially when you've been locked away for a very long time in the fire. But then, while she's regretting that, Siegfried says, "But I love you and I care for you," and then she finally realizes at the end, and says, "I've always loved you too," and then they, I think, have a joyous embrace at the end.
Yeah, bravo. Nice job. I love your wit. Thank you, Tim. So, let's just scoot ahead to the prelude to Act 3. I'm going to need a little help pretty soon, but just in a minute, Tommy. For 12 years from that point, when the Act 2 ended and Wagner was sitting in the tree and then he could understand the bird, and then Act 3 opens, we see Wotan and Erda, with whom Wotan has had 8 children, the earth goddess. It's, you know how gods are. And the small g. Wagner returns after 12 years writing Die Meistersinger von Nuremberg and the incomparable Tristan und Isolde. We don't have time to hear that tonight, or parts of it tonight. And when he returns to Act 3, the prelude is Wagner at full strength, full confidence. And just listen to that music in a moment. But I need help. Tommy, can you help me? Come on up, buddy. This is Thomas. There's your audience. Okay, now you remember how to do this? Okay, now there's nothing in there. You hold the spring. Now, it's going to be about 2 or 3 minutes before I point to you, and you've got to do your thing. All right? And I think you might like this music. Wagner's recordings often have... Wagner's big on thunder. Sunrises, sunsets, thunder, love. Those are his great pieces. This is a thunder sheet that was used in the recording of The Ring Resounding by Sir George Solti. That man would just hit it. We have something different. Can you show them how it works? Let go. Yeah, just let go of the spring and shake this side. Now do it. That's our thunder. Do it again. Cool? Cool. All right. Let's hear for Tom. Now he's going to be part of the orchestra. So you want to come over here. You can watch, and then I'll tap you on the shoulder when you do that again. Okay, come on over here, Tom. And so people can see you. And I'll just tap you on the shoulder. Act 3, Prelude, Siegfried. The great Leonard Bernstein. Near the end, you can see. Such power. You know, that's the man who wrote West Side Story. That's Leonard Bernstein and many other pieces. His first symphony is called Kaddish. Look at the size of that orchestra. Ready? Here it comes. Thunder. Again. And again. Excellent. Let's hear it for Tommy and Leonard Bernstein. Good job, buddy. Good job. Thank you. And that's how Act 3 begins. Let's go to where Siegfried has already awakened Brunhilde, and they debate falling in love, fear, all sorts of things. He now finally understands fear when he takes the shield off her torso. He says, "Das ist kein Mann." That is no man. Das ist kein Mann. He actually sings that. And then he realizes, you know, he's read fairy tales and myths and legends. And like Tim said, he knows where you're supposed to kiss her. You know? He saw Sleeping Beauty. So here, this is an outstanding moment. She's finally awakened after about 20 years of sleep. Hail, dear sun. Hail to you, the sun. And hail to you, the hero. She's singing. Tommy? Who has awakened me from my sleep?
Durch das Feuer traf ich das in Fels und Land. Ich erbrach hier den festen
They like each other. This is a setting of that same scene of the Kiss awakening Brunhilde that Wagner's grandson, Weiland Wagner, created. He was tired of all of the, put the trees here, the mountains here, natural scenery, accurate scenery. So he just thought, and this is in the 1950s, let's strip all of it away and use lighting. But everything will be circular, echoing the idea of the ring. So this is Wagner. This is Siegfried awakening Brunhilde. So you really focus on what Wagner wanted to do at some point, have the invisible stage, that you'd be transported somewhere else. Here endeth our talk on Siegfried. Next, we're going to do To Go to Damarung, the final piece of the ring on February 10th? Yep, okay. February 10th. And a couple of stills. You may be interested in this. Not that. This. Can we go back to that other one? Do you know SCTV? You know the SCTV? Oh, it's great stuff. They created a work and performed it at the Chicago Lyric Opera Company. It's called Louder, Longer, Wagner. And this is a scene of Brunhilde's immolation, the final scene at the end of Go to Damarung. But if we go to the one we just had, Arthur Rackham may have done a better job. Thank you all very much for coming here and putting up with this tonight. And thanks for everyone's help here, from the hors d'oeuvres to your presentations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We want to open it up for questions.
Yep.
Who's my mic person? So if you have a question, Renee will go over to you and give you the mic so we can get it on recording. And we just want to open it up and just say, make our speaker earn his 2 bits tonight.
Well, that was easy. Oh.
This is not a question. I just wanted to say that this was very beautiful, and I appreciate it.
Suzanne, thank you. That means a lot. Thank you. I'm enjoying this. Thanks very much. All right, I'll do the fourth one. Thank you, Suzanne.
I was just wondering about how many operas now use the videos for the backdrop versus like actual live.
Yeah, that projection, it's increasingly common. How many? I don't know. I wouldn't know how to do 50-50. I don't know. But what is it called? Projected animation or something like that? I've forgotten the term. Maybe I've written it down. But it's increasingly common because in cases like this, where you have Wagner in these massive scale operas, it's much easier. Who knows? Maybe not for the people creating it. No, I don't have the term. I think it's some kind of projection. I don't know how many, but it's increasingly common. Interesting, you should ask that. Wagner's great-granddaughter, whose name escapes me now, Brunhilde, I don't know. She's been the director of the Bayreuth Festival since her father, Wolfgang Wagner, Wagner's grandson, passed. And she did a lot with projection like this and some controversial things in about 2012 or 2013, and she was the audience booed the whole production of The Ring. Well, then they retooled it and did it again, and then it was 50-50 booing and accepting. And she's had some very serious health issues, but I think, and there's been a substitute director, but she's back now. But she was using a lot of electronic projection. Seating. Yep. This man here, I don't know if you Mike, you have the mic. I know how you feel.
So does
Brunhilde. Yes.
Brunhilde have any connection to the Merovingian Brunhilde?
I don't know.
Who was a bad lady, right? Like that. Mm-hmm. She was referred to during the Merovingians. She was controlled one of the regions of the Franks.
I would suppose there must be something.
By horses, and,
yeah, I hate when that happens.
All over, kept ruling in power and everything. And,
I don't know.
So is there some kind of connection?
I don't know. That would be something for a graduate paper. I don't know. You got me on that one. Thanks.
I'm sure this is heretical, but I believe that
Barbara Seville performance that I once attended was translated into English. Have they ever translated Wagner into English?
Yes, yeah. It hasn't gone that well.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's what's still there is the music, which Wagner opined will express what words cannot. I'm sure it's not original with him, but he really forced that idea or championed that idea. And so we don't need them. Sometimes we don't need them. The music just carries it all. If we don't have time, but if we can do something else some other day with Tristan or something, to hear the Liebestod from Tristan, the love death at the end of Tristan, is to be taken somewhere else. You're uplifted to some other transcendent realm when you hear this, just as the woman singing, her name is Isolde, is transfixed and transformed. She is singing over the body of her love, Tristan, and wants to be united with him in death. And she sings this, what amounts to an aria, even though Wagner said, I don't do arias anymore. And he's gone, but she says to the people around her, don't you see him? Don't you hear him? Isn't he beautiful, how he floats in the sky, how wonderful he is? And the music is building, building, building to this magnificent crescendo and resolution for the first time in the 4-hour opera. The opera has no resolution to anything until the last note of this. And then she falls dead too. And the Tristan and Isolde, Wagner used those names, but they're also Tristram and Isolde from King Arthur tales, and there are other versions of the name. And that's, even if you just go on YouTube and search for Liebestod or Love Death, Wagner, and look for Jesse Norman singing it. It's transcendent. The music carries us more than the words. Something else? Thanks for your help, everybody. Summarizing plots, making thunder, filming us, making posters. Who made the poster? Leah? Leah. We recently had Martin Luther King Day. And he was assassinated April 4th, the evening of April 4th, 1968. That morning in the Divine Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, he was asleep and he had been sick. The night before, he made that famous last speech where I've been to the mountaintop. I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the mountaintop. He must have known something. But anyway, the next morning, he was awakened by Joan Baez, the great folk singer, who's now 82, I think, singing him. And they let her into his room to wake him up because he was not feeling well, he was exhausted. And he said, I believe I hear the voice of an angel. Leah, we heard the voice of an angel when you sang. Something else? Well, I've kept you a long time. I thank you. Thank you very much.